hardship for future gain. This mindset often manifests in procrastination, poor financial decisions, unhealthy lifestyle choices, and avoidance of personal development. They fail to see that each moment of discipline they avoid today is a missed opportunity for growth and improvement tomorrow. Their short-term thinking leads to a constant search for immediate satisfaction, leaving long-term goals unachieved and dreams unrealized. Over time, this mindset creates frustration and regret because they understand too late that success requires consistent, focused effort over time, not instant gratification. Winners also approach risk differently because of their long-term perspective. They are willing to take calculated risks today to secure greater opportunities in the future. They understand that risk is part of growth and that avoiding it entirely often leads to stagnation. Because they think long-term, they are patient in waiting for the right moment, strategic in their actions, and committed to seeing results unfold over time. They do not chase shortcuts, fads, or instant success schemes. They build foundations that can support long-term achievement, even if it requires effort, patience, and delayed reward. Losers, on the other hand, either avoid all risk or seek immediate rewards without regard for consequences. They are either paralyzed by fear of temporary discomfort or reckless in pursuit of instant success. They fail to appreciate that sustainable achievement requires planning, patience, and a willingness to endure short-term challenges. Their short-term mindset leads them to miss opportunities for meaningful growth and to settle for mediocrity or momentary pleasure. The difference between thinking long-term and short-term is also visible in the way winners handle learning and self-improvement. Winners constantly seek knowledge, invest in skill development, and embrace feedback, knowing that their efforts will pay off over time. They are lifelong learners, understanding that incremental improvements create exponential growth. They see mistakes and failures as lessons that shape their future selves, and they are willing to endure the discomfort of learning in order to achieve mastery later. Losers, in contrast, avoid learning when it is inconvenient, ignore feedback that challenges them, and see mistakes as threats rather than opportunities. They seek instant competence without the willingness to put in the practice or effort necessary to improve. This short-term thinking limits their growth, reduces their adaptability, and leaves them ill-prepared for long-term success. Another area where long-term thinking separates winners from losers is in relationships and networks. Winners understand that strong, meaningful relationships are built over time through trust, consistency, and mutual respect. They invest in people today, knowing that these connections can create opportunities, support, and collaboration in the future. They do not look for immediate benefits in relationships. They focus on cultivating depth, reliability, and reciprocity that will yield long-term value. Losers, by contrast, often seek relationships for immediate gain, manipulation, or superficial benefit. They fail to invest in trust or consistency, and they are quick to abandon relationships that do not provide instant returns. This short-term approach to people creates a weak network, limited support, and missed opportunities that could have been leveraged for long-term success. Ultimately, winners play the long game in all areas of life. They understand that building wealth, mastery, health, and meaningful relationships requires sustained effort, patience, and delayed gratification. They approach life strategically, making choices today that will pay off tomorrow, next year, and in the decades to come. They focus on actions that may seem small or tedious in the moment, but have the potential to create extraordinary outcomes over time. Losers, by contrast, quit too early, chase immediate gratification, avoid discomfort, and fail to see the power of patience and consistency. They live for the moment, and because of this, they often miss opportunities to build lasting success, wealth, and personal growth. They underestimate the compounding effect of small actions and overestimate how quickly results should appear. Their short-term mindset limits their potential and creates a cycle of frustration, mediocrity, and regret. Thinking long-term is not easy. It requires self-discipline, vision, and the ability to delay gratification in a world that constantly tempts people with shortcuts and instant pleasure. It requires the courage to do what is right over what is easy, to stay committed when progress is slow, and to continue acting even when results are not immediately visible. This mindset creates resilience, patience, and a relentless drive for improvement, which is why winners consistently rise above challenges and achieve extraordinary results. Short-term thinking, by contrast, provides immediate comfort but ultimately produces regret. It prioritizes ease over effort, sensation over strategy, and instant reward over lasting achievement. It creates a life filled with unfinished goals, abandoned dreams, and untapped potential. Those who think short-term often feel stuck, frustrated, and disappointed because they fail to recognize that success is not a moment but a journey, one that requires dedication, patience, and consistent action over time. In conclusion, winners think long-term in every decision they make, every action they take, and every goal they pursue. They understand that true success is the product of vision, consistent effort, discipline, and the patience to endure temporary discomfort for lasting reward. Losers, by contrast, think only of the present moment, seeking immediate gratification, avoiding effort, and quitting when results do not appear quickly. Winners build futures, losers chase illusions. Winners understand that small daily actions, repeated consistently over time, create massive results. Losers fail to see the power of consistency and surrender too early. The mindset of long-term thinking versus short-term thinking is the single most decisive factor separating those who succeed and those who do not, because life rewards those who plant seeds today, nurture them over time, and have the patience to harvest them tomorrow. Winners play the long game, and in doing so, they shape their destiny, while losers quit too early and remain defined by the limitations of the present moment. The greatest dividing line between winners and losers is not talent, intelligence, education, or background. It is responsibility. Responsibility is the moment a person decides deep within themselves that their life is in their own hands. Winners understand this truth early or learn it through pain. Whatever they become is ultimately their responsibility. They may not control where they were born, what family they came from, or what obstacles appear in their path, but they fully accept that how they respond to life will determine where they end up. This belief changes everything. When a winner faces failure, loss, criticism, or hardship, their first reaction is not anger at the world or blame toward others. Their first instinct is to look inward. They ask themselves difficult questions that most people avoid. What could I have done better? What mistake did I make? What lesson is hidden in this experience? What skill do I need to improve? These questions are uncomfortable, but winners understand that growth lives inside discomfort. They do not protect their ego, they protect their future. Taking responsibility does not mean denying reality or pretending that life is fair. Winners know life can be brutal, unpredictable, and unfair. They know people can betray you, systems can fail you, and opportunities can be unevenly distributed. But they also know that blaming these realities does not move them forward. Responsibility is not about fault, it is about control. The moment a person takes responsibility, they take back control over their life. Losers, by contrast, operate from a mindset of excuses. An excuse is a story we tell ourselves to avoid facing our own shortcomings. It feels comforting in the moment because it protects our pride, but it slowly destroys our potential. When losers fail, they immediately look outward. They blame the government for corruption, the economy for being weak, their parents for not supporting them, their teachers for not guiding them, their boss for not recognizing them, their friends for holding them back, or their past for damaging them. Every excuse becomes a reason to stay exactly where they are. You often hear the same phrases repeated again and again. I didn't get support. The system is unfair. I wasn't given a chance. These statements may contain elements of truth, but truth without responsibility becomes a prison. The danger of excuses is not that they are always wrong. The danger is that they remove power from the individual. When you blame something outside of yourself, you silently declare that your life is controlled by forces you cannot change. In doing so, you give away your power. Winners refuse to give their power away. Even when circumstances are against them, they search for what is still within their control. They may not control the economy, but they control their skills. They may not control people's opinions, but they control their effort. They may not control their past, but they control the decisions they make today. This mindset creates momentum. Small improvements compound over time, and what once seemed impossible slowly becomes achievable. One of the most powerful truths winners understand is that you cannot control everything that happens to you, but you can always control how you respond. Life will test everyone. Loss, rejection, betrayal, failure, and disappointment are not signs that you are doing something wrong. They are part of the human experience. What separates winners from losers is not the absence of problems, but the presence of a disciplined response. Response is where character is built. When faced with difficulty, a loser reacts emotionally. They complain, withdraw, or give up. They allow frustration to turn into bitterness and disappointment to turn into self-pity. A winner responds intentionally. They pause, reflect, and choose their next action carefully. They understand that emotions are temporary, but decisions can shape an entire lifetime. Attitude plays a critical role in this response. Winners cultivate an attitude of ownership. Even when something goes wrong that was not directly their fault, they ask, "What is my part in this, and what can I do now?" This attitude keeps them moving forward. Discipline follows attitude. Winners do what needs to be done even when motivation disappears. They show up on hard days, work through doubt, and stay committed when results are slow. Action is the final piece. Winners do not wait for perfect conditions. They act with what they have, where they are. This is why two people can face the same problem and experience completely different outcomes. One person uses the problem as fuel while the other uses it as an excuse. One grows stronger, wiser, and more resilient. The other becomes stuck, repeating the same patterns and telling the same stories year after year. The difference is not luck, it is mindset. A winner looks at hardship and says, "This happened for me, not to me." This does not mean they enjoy pain or pretend suffering is easy. It means they believe there is value hidden inside the struggle. They believe the challenge is shaping them, teaching them, and preparing them for something greater. They search for meaning, not sympathy. This belief transforms obstacles into stepping stones. A loser looks at the same hardship and says, "This happened to me and now I am stuck." In this mindset, the problem becomes an identity. The failure becomes a permanent label. The past becomes an excuse to stop trying. This way of thinking slowly drains hope and ambition. Over time, the loser begins to expect failure, and expectations often become reality. Responsibility also changes how winners handle criticism. When criticized, losers immediately become defensive. They argue, deny, or attack back. They see feedback as a threat to their self-image. Winners, however, separate their ego from their growth. They listen carefully. They may not accept every criticism, but they look for truth within it. If there is something they can improve, they take responsibility and adjust. This ability to learn from feedback accelerates their development. Another powerful aspect of responsibility is how it shapes consistency. Winners understand that success is built through repeated actions over time. They do not look for shortcuts or quick fixes. They accept responsibility for showing up daily, even when no one is watching. Losers, on the other hand, often wait for motivation or perfect conditions. When results do not come quickly, they blame the process instead of questioning their commitment. Taking responsibility also requires courage. It is easier to blame the world than to admit personal weakness. It is easier to point fingers than to look in the mirror. Winners choose the harder path because they understand that growth demands honesty. They are willing to admit, "I was wrong." They are willing to say, "I need to improve." This honesty builds strength, not weakness.